What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Fight Briefing. Fight Briefing number 28. How's it going? Welcome in the chat. We've got some of the regulars inside the chat tonight. We're going to talk about UFC Vegas 7 coming up this Saturday. Munhoz versus Edgar. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm doing
wonderful.
Thanks for asking. The UFC is returning to ESPN this weekend with a show that is unsurprisingly been badly hit with injuries again. But that's been a regular occurrence with the UFC lately. So to me, it's like, what do you know? Right? Drunk Savage is pooping in the chat.
Wonderful.
Sorry, I just had to fix something there. All right, guys, let's talk about who's on the fight card this weekend. Munhoz versus Edgar over here. Starting with the first fight of the main card. Oh, shit, I didn't fight brief this fight. Ugh. Oh, shit. Well, guess which fight you're not getting tonight. Sucks. All right, guys. First fight of the night. Daniel Rodriguez versus Takashi Sato. And then the second fight, Maria Agapova versus Shane Dobson. The third fight of the night, Marcin Prachnio versus Mike Rodriguez, leading into the co-main event. Ovince Preux versus Alonzo Menifield. And then our main event, Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Yes, sir. All right, guys, let's get started on the first fight of the night. And I'll give you my picks for the... Oh, look at this. And Daniel Rodriguez apparently doesn't exist. This is great. We're off to a great start tonight, guys. Anyways. Daniel Rodriguez versus Takashi Sato. Now, let me start with Rodriguez, only because I feel like Rodriguez is a great fighter, and I think he's going to be underestimated a little bit in this fight. I feel that Rodriguez doesn't seem to have the same level of striking that Sato does, but I think that's pretty much a given. It seems that he does have a little bit less of the whipping in his strikes, but he is still willing to trade, which I think is going to bode well for him standing on the feet in this fight against Takashi Sato. In terms of his defense, it's not the most amazing defense that we've seen, but he's certainly going to have to put that into play here in terms, or actually pretty quickly in terms of this fight, because he's up against a pretty heavy striker. Rodriguez does seem to have the ability to take some damage, so I think that there's something else that he can use in the fight. He's definitely going to get hit with this type of opponent, but I think he'll be okay taking some of those shots. Sato is a crazy dangerous striker. This guy has 2 knockouts in the UFC alone. That's not counting the knockouts he has outside of the UFC. He's got extremely quick hands, a lot of power to throw, and to back that up, he's got an incredibly solid grappling game. And he comes from a judo background, so, I mean, all that. This guy's super well-rounded, and there's just no question that this guy's going to be taking the win here. So, obviously, bottom line for this fight, I feel that if Sato can maintain that quick striking that we know that he's really good at, and if he can keep Rodriguez inside the pocket and play with him a little bit, I think he'll have a pretty good chance at clipping Rodriguez pretty early. I just don't think Rodriguez's defense is good enough to ward off Sato here. So the only chance I would give Rodriguez is if he can insert some of his grappling after getting Sato to the ground. So I went with Sato by KO TKO in the third round. Let me know who you guys have in the chat, Rodriguez or Sato. All right, here we go. Post Reloaded says, couldn't care less, but I'll pick Sato. All right. Well, at least you're being honest. Copy paste. That's so they can see it, Real Gamer, says Justin Jr. Alex Elvis says, Sato got me a perfect in goat milk in his last fight. Drunk Savage going Sato. Rodriguez by decision, says Aiden Oliveris. Rodriguez looked damn good against the dirty herd. Okay. Says Ninja Choke Meeping Peem, says Sato round 1. Sato says Sean Har. Christopher Massaro, Sato by knockout. Rodriguez decision. JVH, this is a pretty straightforward fight card with predictions. What do you think of it as far as predictions are concerned? What do I think of it? Well, I think I would say that picking the fights was pretty simple for me after looking into the fighters. But here's the thing. I think every card is pretty straightforward. I guess it just depends, because MMA is so unpredictable, right? So I guess it just depends on, can you put your biases to the side for a second, or who do you want to see win compared to who do you actually think is going to win? So, yeah, I believe this card is straightforward, but I always feel like cards are pretty straightforward. Now, something that is not going to be very straightforward here, guys, is Maria Agapova versus Shayna Dobson. I didn't brief this fight, so we're gonna have to go on a whim over here. Let's go take a look at them. Maria Agapova versus Shayna Dobson. 9-1-0, 3-4-0. I don't know if you can see. Oh, you can't see shit. Oh, here we go. I know what we can do. Boom! Look at that. 9-1-0, 3-4-0, 5-6, 5-6, 125, 68.5 to 69. Virtually identical, these two. Let's see how we've gotten some wins. Both of them have the same percent of KO TKO rate. Wow, look at this. Maria Agapova with the 44% submission rate over 0% by Dobson. Now look at, hold on a second. Didn't we just see Agapova fight just recently? Let's take a look over here. Oh, it doesn't show. Fuck. Oh, maybe if I go to Tapology, it'll show. Let's take a look over here at when Maria Agapova last fought. We'll head over to Tapology. Bang! Just like that. Click on that Tapology sign. UFC Vegas 6. This is what we're looking for. All right. There they are. Agapova versus Shayna Dobson. When was her last fight, Agapova? Maria Agapova. Look at that face. Here we go. UFC Fight Night back in June. Yes. So just a couple months ago, we saw her fight. She won against Hannah Cypher's rear naked choke. Ground and pound, rear naked, KO TKO, one decision on a record, but that was Fight Nights Global. And she came in on the Contender Series with the loss, but obviously, you know, proved herself, even with Invicta over here. So, man, just by the finishing rate alone, and the fact that I'm more familiar with Agapova, I'm going to have to go Agapova. And I'm going to go further. I'm going to say a finish for Agapova in this fight. Let me know who you guys have in the chat. All right. Rest in peace, Agapova, says Raider Richard. Eyebrows looking good. How did you know I held in laughing? Justin Jr. says. Care even lesser about these two bitches, but I'll go with Dobson because why not? Agapova first round KO. Iniquity. Kazakhstan. Shayna Dobson decision. All right. Real Gamer placing money on Dobson after my interview rooting for my girl. Okay. All right, guys, let's head over to the next fight of the evening. I'll take this off. Patata! Hata! Oh, wait, that's the wrong fight. Tata! Oh, what the fuck? Let's try this. There we go. Marcin Prachnio versus Mike Rodriguez is the third fight of the evening. Now, starting with Prachnio, this guy is an incredible finisher based off of what I've seen. He's got 13 wins total, and only 2 of them have gone decision, which means 11 of his wins. Well, he went he didn't go lights out. His opponent went lights out.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Now, I truly believe this fight is going to be a huge slugfest, not only because of Prachnio, but because of his opponent in Rodriguez. They're both extremely heavy strikers. I can say that no matter who you picked in this fight, it is kind of a gamble. It's like flipping a coin over here. I do think that Prachnio's defense may be a little amiss compared to Rodriguez, which could put him in a little bit more of a vulnerable situation, but not much. He has been knocked out before, though, something to keep in mind. And Rodriguez, I believe, has not been knocked out before. So, and I could be wrong, but I don't think Rodriguez has been knocked out before. So something to look out for is that chin of Prachnio. Now, Rodriguez has that Muay Thai and boxing background as well, which he's most likely going to put into play for that fight. So if you add that to the level of striking that Rodriguez has to show, in all honesty, either man could really win this fight, but they're both great finishers. But I'm going to have to go with Rodriguez on this one simply because of the knockout power that he has and Prachnio's ability to be knocked out. So I went with Rodriguez KO TKO in the first. Let me know who you guys have. 100. Prachnio was finished in his last 2, says Stugats. Where's Drunk? Rodriguez TKO. Toriel from The Hobbit says Raider Richard. Mike H with the fist bumps in the chat. Mike Rodriguez, round 1 TKO. Heck yeah, JBH. Great picks. Thank you, Justin. Rodriguez, still don't care, says Pulse Reloaded. Big $100. If you win $100 of Dobson, give 50 to the MMA-Holes. Rodriguez first TKO, says Stugats. I see Mike H doing those fist pumps. Let's get those fucking likes up. We got 77 people watching. There is absolutely no excuse in the world for why we should only have 49 likes. Hit the like button.
Super chat.
Super chat.
Sean O'Malley just tested positive for glitter. Who ya got? Reyes or Jan in the just announced?
Reyes or Jan in the just announced. I think yesterday I was talking about it. I went Reyes. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. I just like the guy more, and I feel like he's got more spunk, more oomph in his style. And Jan is awesome, dude. He's a fucking great fighter, man. And there's no reason you should put doubt on him. But I just have to go Reyes. I have to. But and then seeing when he was fighting John Jones, and I don't know. I believe Reyes has what it takes to be the title holder.
MMA on a Friday, fuck off on a Friday, drink, smoke, fuck on a Friday, fuck off on a Friday, wonderful, wonderful.
Hit that like button.
MMA on a Friday,
dancing.
fuck off on a Friday, drink, smoke, fuck.
Oh, you don't want to see the co-main event dance? How about the main event?
A Friday, wonderful,
Oh, yeah.
wonderful.
Here we go.
Hit the like button. Wonderful, wonderful. Hit the like button.
All right.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Calm down, guys. Jesus. Getting off track over here. Okay, co-main event. OSP versus Alonzo Menifield. I like this fight a lot for a couple of reasons. One, I can say right now that I believe a lot of people are going to sleep on OSP because OSP showed a little bit of a chin in some of his most recent fights, but not in his last fight. The last time we saw OSP in the UFC was back in May when he fought Ben Rothwell at heavyweight. Now, it wasn't exactly the best fight for him, you could argue. He did run away quite frequently in that fight, so he did end up taking that split decision loss. But one thing I like about OSP is his ability to take some pretty heavy damage. Now, he took some serious shots from Ben Rothwell in that fight and stayed standing. I know you could argue in fights previous to that he, he kind of got wobbled here and there, and it was easy to say that he was probably going to get knocked out. But for me here, man, I'm going to have to say, there we go. Ugh, why do they look so big? Ugh. ADHD. Here we go. I'm going to have to say that we're going to see the same chin that we saw with Ben Rothwell in the last fight, and that OSP is going to be able to take some tremendous damage. And he's going to have to, because fighting someone like Alonzo Menifield, who came in during the Contender Series and has some serious knockout power, OSP is going to have to take that damage. One thing that scares me about Alonzo Menifield is the fact that he comes in swinging hard and like the very beginning of the fight. Although I would not get too high on this guy. Even though he does have that knockout power, we have seen him unfortunately fall into the trap of kind of laying into his opponents and putting those efforts in a little too soon, and then he gets bullied in his fights later on to where he could potentially get knocked out. Now, I think we might actually see that happen here with OSP, and that's why I hope to see a lot of people leaning towards OSP in this fight, is because I think Menifield is going to go in there and he's going to go in hot and heavy and swinging like the typical Alonzo Menifield would. And after that, I think he's going to lay in too soon. He's going to put all of his efforts in too soon. OSP is he's going to eat that damage, and he's going to come back and he's going to bully Menifield to that win. Personally, I am leaning towards OSP here. I believe if OSP can avoid getting rushed by Menifield in the beginning parts of the fight, then it could turn out well for him, getting into rounds 2 or even 3. I also don't think Menifield has the ability to adjust to OSP's submission game, so I'm going to take it even a step
Shopping
further.
during a pandemic.
Missed. D-Rest.
Hit the like button or you will be not hear the end of me. Merry birthday, MMA-Holes 2020.
D-Rest. That's right. Our birthday is this Saturday, guys. The MMA-Holes birthday. So make sure you guys are around for that. I'm going to take it a step further, guys. And I'm going to say OSP by submission in the second round. Let me know who you guys have in the chat. Alonzo Menifield or Ovince St. Preux. Preux. Yes, Sean Hart says, Justin Jr., what's the song called, JBH? We called it the D-Rest like button song. I don't know what D-Rest called it. You guys getting an ice cream cake, says Drunk Savage. I don't know what we're doing, to be quite honest. That sounds delicious, though, man. Ice cream cake? Oof. I haven't had ice cream cake since I was 12. That sounds delicious. Here we go. Aiden Olvera's OSP. OSP. Oh, no, JBH says, Gary, 4 years. Happy B-Day. Thank you, Drew Becker. I have OSP submission. Round 2, same. Let's go. Let's go, Justin Jr.
Wonderful, wonderful.
OSP will get KO'd fast. Shout out to our dead torrential. Oh, guys. I'm gonna go off topic here for a minute. I know we're supposed to be talking about the fights, but Moss found the first tarantula in our backyard today. And it was dead. And it was fucking huge. And it was furry. And I kind of felt bad for it because it looked like a little pet. And Moss says it's on the website. Oh no. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. I'll get right back onto the fights. Don't worry. We're here to talk about the fights, but this is important information. Guys, this is... Moss doesn't have the song. He doesn't have the breaking news song. Moss, what happened? What happened, Moss? Here we go. Let's take a look over here. Dead tarantula in our backyard. This thing was in our backyard. Now, Moss has a theory. Well, he has two. One, we saw a tarantula hawk weeks prior. And any of you guys who know what that is, the tarantula hawk paralyzes the tarantula and lays its eggs inside the tarantula while the tarantula is still alive but paralyzed. Like that. So it could have been that. Or we just had fucking the house sprayed. The exterminator came yesterday to spray for a second time. And he thinks it might be the pesticides that killed this tarantula. But that is a male tarantula, guys, in our backyard. So welcome to Arizona, I guess you could say. All right, guys. Let's get back to the fights over here. The main event of the evening, Pedro Munhoz versus Frankie Edgar. Now, I was a little shocked with this fight. I was a little shocked when we did the polls. I think Moss did a poll on this one, and I was like, this is interesting. But at the same time, now I understand why. After going back and looking at their past fights and, seeing what they had done in their career up until this point, I can understand why a lot of people went with Edgar in this fight. Now, let me tell you my opinion. First of all, this fight was originally supposed to happen back in July. Munhoz tested positive for COVID-19, so naturally they had to rebook the fight. So I'm actually glad that they had the opportunity to get it booked until now. Munhoz has been a veteran of the UFC for 6 years, and it's pretty easy to say he was once considered one of the hottest prospects in the bantamweight division. When he lost to Sun Sao in his debut, he completely flipped the script after that, and he made sure to prove any doubters wrong every fight after that. That's why I like him a lot. The reason I'm kind of high on Munhoz in this fight is because all of his losses come against some pretty tough contenders, top-tier fighters. So it's difficult to be like, oh, well, he's just, he just took those losses because he's bad at fight. No, he fought some fucking tough-ass motherfuckers. Obviously, seeing him knock out Cody Garbrandt was the cherry on top, and it was a huge high on his record as well. And that's something that kind of won me over with Munhoz, was seeing him knock out Cody Garbrandt, who a lot of people are like, oh, Garbrandt's good. It was just because TJ Dillashaw was on steroids. Moss. But I'm going to have to say seeing that knockout really made me high on Munhoz. I truly feel that Munhoz would have had this chance at the title a lot sooner if it weren't for Aljamain Sterling coming in and pulling his feet out from under him and completely taking that spot from him. So I am very high on Munhoz in this fight. Edgar is definitely a veteran as well, for much longer than Munhoz. He's been a part of the sport itself for a lot longer. He also moved down to 145 pounds after he dropped his title quite a few years back.
Super chat.
Star-Lord.
Gimme your prediction on who will get a first round KO on this card.
Did you miss all my predictions, Star-Lord? On who gets first? Okay, let me go through it again. OSP, Star-Lord, gets the submission by second round. Rodriguez gets the KO TKO in the first round. Agapova gets the finish in the second round. Takashi Sato gets the finish by KO TKO in the third round. And now we're talking about Frankie Edgar and Pedro Munhoz. Talking about Edgar right now, Edgar is definitely a veteran over Munhoz, like I had previously mentioned. He's been in the UFC a lot longer than Munhoz has. And what was I saying? He moved down to 145 pounds, right? And that's after that he dropped his title a few years back. And it didn't bode well for him, right? He was on actually a bit of a downslope after that because he lost to Aldo, obviously lost his chance at the featherweight title, and then he just like slid down. Now, despite still being a perennial contender, it was pretty safe to say that the guy was not on the highest of highs, right? He was out for a year with an injury, then he returned.
Shopping during a pandemic.
The rest.
No official name to the song, MMA on a Friday or Fuck Off on a Friday or Wonderful Wonderful or Hit the Like Button. The phrase hit the like button is trending big on other YouTube channels since the song became popular with the Holes. Congrats to us all.
Let's go the rest. We'll call it Hit the Like Button, or the Like Button song, right? Now, then Edgar returned, and then he got knocked out and goes down with his first ever KO in his career. Now, he did spend another year behind closed doors, and I have a feeling that that's going to affect his performance as well before coming back. And then he lost again to Max Holloway and the Korean Zombie. So there's always that. The issue for Edgar, in my opinion, is simply that he's no longer in his prime. I think he's probably slowed down a lot, and being on all these layoffs and having these injuries and getting knocked out for the first time and all that stuff, I think it all builds up on the character of the fighter. And I don't think that he's the same Edgar that we're used to seeing from the past. And I think people are kind of leaning on the fact that he's going to be that Edgar. And I don't think he is. And I think that's why a lot of people leaned towards him for picking the fight. But I'm not. I think I'm leaning towards Munhoz here, guys. I think I'm going to go with the upset. I feel, like I said, that Edgar's not the same as he used to be. Munhoz is an excellent, well-rounded fighter. He's an extremely hard hitter. His ground game is superb. He's great with the submissions. He's got a pretty decent boxing game. I'm almost certain that the reason so many people are leaning towards Edgar as well is the fact that in this fight, Munhoz may not exactly be deemed as the better athlete, which is okay. I understand. I get it. But you could also argue that he doesn't have the footwork and the movement to match up with Edgar as well. But if Edgar slowed down, then he does. He does have the movement. So I think Munhoz is going to catch him and cleanly take him out in this fight in the early rounds. So, of course, I went with a finish. And I went with Munhoz by KO TKO in the second. Let me know who you guys have in the chat. All right. EZ says, Sean, who's your 3 picks? Edgar is 2-1. To win on Betfair. I dumped Max Betts, Sato on BetTSI, and Bovada. I think this fight might go like Ortega versus Edgar. Frankie Baby, Justin Jr. says, Mr. Menifield only has 1 round and he showed it against Mr. Clark. I think Mr. St. Preux has faced higher competition and he's seen it all. Most of his losses are decision. If he gets past round 1, he wins. Munhoz via decision. Edgar will still get a title shot after losing. I agree Munhoz has to be the favorite. Hit the yike button. Munhoz via decision. Munhoz decision. Let's see. Maybe Edgar will get jacked on roofs and Hulk Munhoz.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Edgar will still get a title shot after losing. All right, guys. So those are my picks for UFC Vegas 7 that is happening this weekend. Let's take a look at what time this is going to happen over here. 5:30 p.m. Mountain time. So that's 8:30 p.m. Eastern time is the main card. And the prelims start at 6 p.m. Eastern time. 6 p.m. Eastern time. So, guys, make sure you watch the fights this weekend and head over to the MMA-Holes. We will be live for that. We're also going to be live tomorrow for Fuka Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, so don't miss out on it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Fight Briefing, and as always,
MMA on a Friday, fuck off on a Friday, drinks much fuck on a Friday, fuck off on a Friday, wonderful, wonderful.
what do you have to do? Not even worth it anymore. I was going to go right into hit the like button. Fucked it all up. All right, guys. Don't be an a-hole. Be an MMA-hole.
Would you rather use someone toothbrush or lay in a tank full of tarantulas Joe Rogan Fear Factor style?